Sam Ford had never believed in aliens. At least, not until three massive ships appeared over New York, Beijing, and London one quiet Tuesday morning. The world stood still as humans everywhere watched their screens, equal parts terrified and fascinated. "This is impossible," Sam whispered, standing in the middle of Times Square with thousands of others, all staring up at the metallic disk hovering silently above the Manhattan skyline. It shimmered with a faint blue light, unlike anything made by human hands. 3 days later, after the initial panic subsided, the visitors finally made contact. They called themselves the Galactic Council, a federation of 27 advanced species from across the stars. Their ships now floated above every major city on Earth, a calculated show of power disguised as a friendly introduction. Sam, a respected diplomat with the United Nations, found himself appointed to the first contact team. He sat across from Ambassador Krelax, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and 4 arms folded carefully in front of him. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," Krelax said, his words translated through a small device on the table. His large, pupil-less eyes blinked sideways. "But you must understand, membership in our council requires evaluation." "Evaluation?" Sam asked. "What exactly does that mean?" Krelax smiled, showing teeth too perfect and too white. "All developing species must demonstrate their readiness. We will observe and guide your civilization toward appropriate advancement." Behind closed doors, the council representatives spoke more plainly with world leaders. Earth would receive council observers in every major government. These observers would assist with technological advancement and resource management. John Martinez, a scientist from Chicago, and Lisa Daniels, a former military strategist, were appointed as Earth's primary liaisons. They would work directly with the council representatives and report back to humanity's leaders. "I don't trust them," Lisa said to John after their first meeting with the council. They stood on the balcony of a New York hotel, watching the alien ship that now seemed like a permanent fixture in the sky. "Did you notice how they avoid direct questions about their technology?" John nodded. "And they're very interested in our mining operations, our rare earth metals. They asked more questions than they answered." What Earth's leaders didn't know was that the council had already classified humans as dangerous and unpredictable. Internal council documents, kept hidden from Earth's representatives, labeled humans as aggressive primates with concerning nuclear capabilities. The council had seen this before: young species with too much ambition and too little restraint. Their standard procedure was simple: limit development, extract resources, and keep the species contained to their home world. "We must proceed carefully," Krelax told his subordinates aboard their ship. "Humans show unusual adaptability and resistance to authority. Our usual methods may require adjustment." While council members publicly praised humanity's potential, they privately implemented their containment protocols. Small sabotages began immediately. Critical satellite launches failed due to technical issues. Research into advanced propulsion systems hit inexplicable roadblocks. Computer systems experienced mysterious glitches when working on certain technologies. 6 weeks after first contact, Earth's leaders gathered at the United Nations. The Council had presented them with a cooperation agreement that promised technological exchange and protection. "This is a historic moment," the Secretary General announced to the world. "Humanity joins the galactic community as equals." But as Sam Ford reviewed the agreement's fine print late that night, he noticed concerning clauses about supervised development and resource-sharing arrangements. Something didn't feel right. Outside his window, the council ship hovered silently, its blue lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Unknown to Sam and the rest of humanity, the exploitation had already begun. The peaceful facade would hold for now, but the council's true intentions remained hidden behind smiles and promises of friendship. 6 months after first contact, Dr. Kate Wilson stared at her computer screen in frustration. Her team's research into fusion energy had hit another unexplained setback. This marked the third critical failure in as many weeks. "It doesn't make sense," she muttered, reviewing the data. The simulations were perfect. The materials tested fine. Then everything just fails during implementation. Kate wasn't alone in her frustration. Across Earth, humanity's most ambitious projects were struggling. The International Space Agency's Mars mission faced repeated launch delays. New satellite systems mysteriously malfunctioned after reaching orbit. Quantum computing breakthroughs suddenly hit theoretical limitations that Council scientists insisted were insurmountable. In Washington, D.C., Marine Colonel Eric Barnes had begun collecting reports of these failures. A 20-year veteran with a background in intelligence, Eric had grown increasingly suspicious of their alien visitors. "Look at the pattern," Eric explained to a small group of military and scientific leaders gathered in a secure underground facility. He pointed to a wall covered with photos and documents. "Every technological advance that might give us interstellar capabilities has failed. Not just once, but repeatedly." Kate Wilson had been invited to this secret meeting. She stood up, her voice quiet but firm. "My team discovered microscopic sabotage in our fusion containment systems. Nanoscale devices not made by human hands." A murmur ran through the room. Eric nodded grimly. "We found similar evidence in the space program. The Council isn't just observing us. They're actively preventing our advancement." The evidence mounted daily. Council advisors had inserted themselves into key research facilities around the world. They offered help that never yielded results. They requested data that disappeared into their ships. They suggested improvements that inevitably led to project failures. Meanwhile, Lisa Daniels had noticed strange patterns in Council visits to remote areas. Working with satellite specialists, she tracked Council ships making regular trips to the Amazon, Central Africa, and the Australian outback. "They're mining something," she told John Martinez over a secure line. "And they're not telling us what or why." John had his own concerns. "They've been mapping our ocean floors too, and they keep asking about our nuclear waste storage facilities." Eric Barnes and Kate Wilson collaborated to compile evidence of the Council's interference. They worked in secret, using old-fashioned paper records and meeting in person to avoid electronic surveillance. They suspected that Council technology could monitor any digital communication. "They've been lying from the beginning," Kate said, reviewing photos of nanosaboteurs recovered from failed experiments. "This isn't about helping us develop. It's about keeping us grounded on Earth." Eric nodded. "While they take whatever resources they want." Their breakthrough came when a junior Council member named Zivera approached them privately. Disturbed by his superior's actions, he provided internal Council documents revealing the truth. Earth had been designated a containment world, a planet whose inhabitants were deemed too aggressive to join galactic society as equals. "Your species is considered dangerous," Zivera explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Council fears your adaptability, your resilience, and your history of warfare. They will never allow you to develop interstellar travel." Armed with this information and their compiled evidence, Eric and Kate approached the UN Secretary General. In a secure room swept for listening devices, they presented proof of systematic sabotage. Photographs of Council ships extracting resources without permission. Translated Council directives outlining plans to limit human development. The Secretary General's face grew darker with each revelation. When they finished, she sat in silence for a long moment. "Assemble the Security Council," she said finally, "and contact our Council liaisons. It's time we had an honest conversation about our place in the galaxy." What no one realized yet was that humanity's patience had reached its breaking point. The betrayal had been discovered, and Earth would not take this lying down. Amy Nichols wiped sweat from her brow as she crouched in the dense Brazilian rainforest. The environmental scientist had been tracking the Council's activities for weeks. What she discovered horrified her. "They've cleared nearly 30 square miles in the last month alone," she whispered into her recorder. "No replanting, no restoration efforts, just extraction and abandonment." Through her binoculars, Amy watched alien machines strip mining the Earth with frightening efficiency. Trees that had stood for centuries disappeared in minutes. The Council called these resource-sharing operations, but nothing was being shared. Earth's treasures were simply being taken. Similar scenes played out worldwide. In the Congo, Council mining operations displaced entire villages. Local officials who protested mysteriously fell silent after private meetings with Council representatives. In Indonesia, massive ships hovered over the ocean, extracting rare minerals from the seabed while marine life died in record numbers. "This isn't cooperation," John Martinez told a secret UN committee. "It's colonization." Lisa Daniels presented satellite imagery showing Council extraction sites had increased from 12 to over 200 in just 3 months. They're accelerating their operations. At this rate, they'll deplete critical resources within 5 years. Meanwhile, Council propaganda portrayed humans as primitive beings needing guidance. Their public broadcasts across Earth emphasize humanity's violent history and technological limitations. Schools received educational materials describing Earth as a developing world lucky to receive Council attention. "We only wish to elevate humanity to its potential," Ambassador Krelak said in worldwide broadcasts. "Your resources are being used to create better technologies that will eventually benefit all Earth citizens." But the evidence suggested otherwise. None of the promised technologies had materialized. Instead, Earth's most valuable resources vanished into Council ships. Rare earth metals, critical for advanced electronics, uranium and other radioactive elements. Even biological samples from rainforests and oceans disappeared by the ton. In northern Canada, a Council mining operation left toxic waste that poisoned groundwater across 50 miles. When local authorities demanded action, Council representatives claimed sovereign immunity under the cooperation agreement Earth's leaders had signed. "We've been played for fools," Sanford told his colleagues at the UN. Once an advocate for Council cooperation, he now led efforts to document their violations. Amy Nichols ventured deeper into Council territory, photographing the devastation. In the Amazon, she encountered indigenous people forced from their ancestral lands. "The Sky People came with machines that eat the Earth," an elder told her through a translator. "When our leaders objected, they were taken to the floating ships. They never returned." Amy uploaded her findings to a secure server before Council security forces discovered her camp. She barely escaped, hiking through the jungle for 3 days before reaching safety. Across Earth, resistance formed. Scientists shared information through old radio frequencies the Council didn't monitor. Military personnel established secure communication networks using pre-digital technology. Ordinary citizens began sabotaging Council operations in small but effective ways. A global movement emerged, using a simple symbol, Earth with a raised fist. It appeared as graffiti near Council installations, as tattoos on resistance members, as small pins worn discreetly by people secretly working against the alien exploitation. Council representatives noticed the growing unrest. They responded by increasing their propaganda and establishing a more visible security presence. In major cities, Council peacekeepers now patrolled alongside local police. "The situation is deteriorating," Krelak informed the Galactic Council during a private transmission. "Humans are showing greater resistance than anticipated. I recommend accelerating resource extraction before implementing full containment protocols." What Krelak didn't realize was that his transmission had been intercepted. Kate Wilson's team had finally cracked Council communication codes. For the first time, Earth's leaders heard the unfiltered truth about their place in the Council's plans. The exploitation had been exposed. Earth's patience had run out. And the next move would shock the entire Galactic Council. President Laura Hayes stood before the United Nations Security Council, her face grim but determined. Behind her, screens displayed evidence of Council exploitation, devastated landscapes, displaced communities, and intercepted communications revealing the aliens' true intentions. For 18 months, we welcomed the Galactic Council as friends, she began. We shared our world and trusted their promises of mutual benefit. Today, we present proof of their betrayal. Ambassador Krelax and 3 other council representatives sat uncomfortably as Earth's leaders displayed damning evidence. Satellite images showed massive resource extraction. Scientific reports documented ecological damage. Decoded transmissions revealed the Council's plans to strip Earth of valuable resources while keeping humans technologically dependent. You misunderstand our intentions, Krelax said smoothly when the presentation ended. These are necessary steps in preparing your species for galactic membership. Primitive worlds often resist the guidance they need. Colonel Eric Barnes stepped forward. Is this guidance? He played a recording of Krelax speaking to the Galactic Council. Humans must never develop independent interstellar capabilities. Their aggressive nature makes them unsuitable for full membership. We recommend permanent containment. The room fell silent. Krelax's skin changed color slightly. What humans had learned was a sign of distress in his species. Your species has a violent history, another council representative said. You fought wars over resources, religion, and territory. The Council cannot risk allowing such an unpredictable species free access to the galaxy. So instead you exploit us, Laura Hayes replied. You take our resources while sabotaging our development. Krelax straightened in his chair. The Council has made its decision. Earth has 2 options: accept protected status under our guidance, or face the consequences of defiance. The full might of the Galactic Council stands ready to enforce compliance. It wasn't just a suggestion, it was an ultimatum. That evening, world leaders gathered in an emergency session. Representatives from 195 nations met in a secure underground facility designed to block Council surveillance. They've shown their true faces, said the Chinese president. This is not partnership, it is conquest. Their technology far exceeds ours, the German chancellor pointed out. Any direct confrontation would be disastrous. Eric Barnes and Kate Wilson presented their assessment. The Council believes we're primitive and predictable, Kate explained. That's their weakness. They've underestimated us from the beginning. For hours, the debate continued. Historical enemies found common ground in the face of this existential threat. Nations that had fought for centuries now stood together. We have one advantage, Sam Ford told the assembly. They don't think we can hurt them. They don't expect resistance. By morning, Earth had reached consensus. For the first time in human history, the world stood truly united. At noon, President Laura Hayes addressed the Galactic Council representatives. Her message was broadcast globally, in defiance of Council communication protocols. For thousands of years, humanity has fought itself. We've struggled and suffered, but we've also learned and grown. We know conflict intimately. We understand the cost of war. She paused, looking directly at Krelax. And we know exploitation when we see it. The world watched as she continued. Earth rejects your ultimatum. We will not accept subjugation disguised as protection. We demand recognition as equals in the galactic community, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Krelax's expression darkened. You cannot understand the consequences of this decision. The Council has faced defiance before. Those species no longer exist. Laura Hayes didn't flinch. Then let the galaxy witness what happens when you threaten Earth. We will not submit. We will not surrender. And we are not as helpless as you believe. As the Council representatives departed for their ships, emergency broadcasts activated worldwide. Operation Thunderstrike, 18 months in secret preparation, was now in motion. The Council had made a critical mistake. They had threatened a species that had spent its entire history learning to fight. And humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. Commander Ryan Phillips stood on the bridge of the hidden underwater base, watching as officers activated systems that had been developed in absolute secrecy. For 18 months, while publicly cooperating with the Council, humanity had been preparing for this moment. "All strike teams report ready, Commander," his second-in-command said. "Operation Thunderstrike commencing in 5 minutes." Ryan nodded. "Broadcast the activation code worldwide. All units proceed as planned." Across Earth, military forces moved with coordinated precision. The Council had expected riots, perhaps some primitive attacks on their installations. They had not expected strategy. At exactly 300 UTC, the first phase began. Small teams struck Council communication relays simultaneously across the globe. Using technology reverse-engineered from failed Council devices, they deployed electronic countermeasures that blocked the aliens' ability to communicate with their ships. "Communications disrupted," reported a technician. Estimated 87% effectiveness. In orbit, Council ships suddenly found themselves isolated. Their sophisticated sensors, designed to detect energy weapons and conventional explosives, missed the approach of specially shielded aircraft. These planes deployed electromagnetic pulse devices that had been disguised as failed energy projects during Council inspections. Ryan watched the tactical display as Council ships went dark one by one. Not destroyed, but temporarily disabled. "Phase 1 complete," he announced. "Begin Phase 2. On the ground, military units surrounded Council mining operations and research facilities. Instead of attacking directly, they deployed captured Council technology, devices salvaged from failed experiments and secretly studied. In the Amazon, Amy Nichols guided special forces to the weak points of Council mining equipment. "Their power distribution nodes are here and here," she said, pointing to spots on the massive machines. "Disable those, and the entire system fails." One by one, Council mining operations shut down. Their security forces, expecting primitive human weapons, found themselves facing their own technology turned against them. At a major Council base in Australia, the aliens activated their defense systems only to find they targeted their own troops. Kate Wilson's team had reprogrammed the identification protocols during a routine maintenance check weeks earlier. "They're in complete disarray," Eric Barnes reported from the Pentagon Command Center. "Their hierarchy is breaking down without central coordination." The Council had fatally underestimated human adaptability. While openly accepting Council guidance, humans had been studying their technology, identifying weaknesses, and planning countermeasures. In orbit, Council ships struggled to restore power. Their crews had never faced serious resistance from a primitive species before. Their training hadn't prepared them for this level of coordinated attack. Ryan's underwater base now revealed its true purpose. Rising from the ocean depths, it deployed advanced weapons developed using principles gleaned from studying Council technology. These weapons didn't destroy the Council ships, but systematically disabled their offensive capabilities. "Target their propulsion systems," Ryan ordered. "Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties." The Council's failure to understand humans had led to a critical strategic error. They had shown humans their technology while believing humans couldn't comprehend it. They had revealed their tactical doctrines while thinking humans couldn't adapt to them. By dawn, Council forces were in retreat worldwide. Their mining operations stood abandoned. Their research facilities had been captured. Their ships, those that could still maneuver, gathered high above Earth's atmosphere. "They're regrouping," Ryan observed, watching the tactical display. "Preparing for a counterattack." But that had been anticipated too. As the Council ships formed up, they discovered Earth's final surprise. Hundreds of small satellites, deployed during failed launches over the past year, now activated. These devices created a field that prevented the Council ships from activating their faster-than-light drives. "They can't escape," Kate Wilson confirmed from her monitoring station, "and they can't call for reinforcements." For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council faced defeat at the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive. Operation Thunderstrike had succeeded beyond all expectations, and the reckoning was just beginning. Ambassador Diane Foster straightened her uniform as the Earth delegation prepared to enter the Galactic Council headquarters. After securing Earth's immediate safety, Humanity had demanded a formal hearing before the full assembly of galactic species. 3 days of tense negotiations had finally secured this opportunity. "Remember," she told her team, "we're not here for revenge. We're here for justice." Behind her stood representatives from every continent, scientists, military personnel, and diplomats chosen for their expertise. They carried with them overwhelming evidence of the Council's crimes against Earth. The great doors to the assembly chamber opened. Inside, representatives of 27 spacefaring civilizations watched as humans entered their sacred hall. Many had never seen a human in person before. Their information had come solely from Council reports describing humans as primitive, violent, and unready for galactic society. At the center of the chamber, the Council High Command sat on elevated platforms. Ambassador Krelax and his fellow officials looked uncomfortable as Diane approached the speaker's position. Several Council leaders had been captured during Operation Thunderstrike. Those who remained free now faced uncomfortable questions from their peers. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Assembly," Diane began, her voice steady, "Earth comes before you today, not as supplicants, but as accusers." Murmurs filled the chamber. This was unprecedented. No developing world had ever directly challenged the Council before. For centuries, the Council has portrayed itself as a benevolent guide to emerging civilizations. Diane continued, "Today, we present evidence that reveals the truth behind this facade." With clinical precision, the Earth delegation presented their case. They showed recordings of Council members planning Earth's exploitation. They displayed images of environmental destruction caused by Council mining. They revealed the deliberate sabotage of human technological development. "Most damning," Diane said, activating a final display, "we present the Council's own classification records. Not just for Earth, but for 17 other worlds currently under Council guidance." The Assembly erupted in shocked conversations as the records appeared. They showed a systematic pattern of exploitation. Worlds with valuable resources but limited defense capabilities were classified as development candidates, targets for the same treatment Earth had received. "The Council doesn't seek to elevate new species," Diane declared. "It seeks to maintain power by preventing competition while extracting resources from worlds unable to defend themselves." Krelax rose to speak. "These humans distort the truth. Their violent nature proves why such worlds must be contained. Their attack on Council forces demonstrates exactly why." "Why you failed," interrupted Kate Wilson, stepping forward. "You believe your own propaganda. You convinced yourselves we were primitive savages incapable of understanding your technology." She activated a holographic display showing the human countermeasures during Operation Thunderstrike. "While you thought you were monitoring us, we were studying you. While you believed you were containing us, we were learning your weaknesses." Eric Barnes added, "You expected violence because that's what you understand. Instead, we used precision and strategy. We disabled rather than destroyed. We captured rather than killed. We did everything possible to minimize casualties on both sides." The evidence was irrefutable. Several Assembly members from elder species rose to speak, expressing alarm at the Council's actions. Questions arose about how many other civilizations had been similarly exploited under the guise of development. "The Council's leadership has betrayed the Assembly's founding principles," declared the representative from Maduris, one of the oldest member species. "This pattern of deception and exploitation cannot continue." As the debate intensified, Diane Foster made Earth's position clear. "We do not seek the destruction of the Galactic Council. We seek its reformation. We demand justice for the wrongs done to Earth and other exploited worlds. And we insist on equal membership in a truly cooperative galactic community." The assembly session lasted for 26 Earth hours. By its conclusion, the existing Council leadership had been removed pending investigation. A provisional authority, including Earth representatives, was established to examine all Council operations and policies. As the Earth delegation departed the chamber, a representative of the Tellurian Federation, a species that had achieved interstellar travel only centuries before, approached Diane. "You have changed everything," they said simply. "The old order ends today." The Treaty of New Terra was signed 1 year after Earth's confrontation with the Galactic Council. Representatives from all 28 spacefaring civilizations, Earth now officially included, gathered at a newly constructed diplomatic center in Geneva to mark the beginning of a transformed galactic society. Sam Ford watched as President Laura Hayes signed a historic document. As one of the first humans to meet council representatives, he found the change remarkable. Where once arrogant council officials had dictated terms to Earth, now equal partners discussed mutual interests. "The old council is officially dissolved," announced the mediator, a respected neutral party from one of the elder species. "In its place, the Galactic Cooperative is established, with all member worlds holding equal status." The former council leaders had faced justice for their crimes. Krelax and other officials responsible for Earth's exploitation had been tried before an interstellar tribunal. Their punishment was proportionate to their crimes, not imprisonment or execution, but service. They were now required to work on restoring the environments they had damaged on Earth and other exploited worlds. "The greatest change isn't in the structures," Kate Wilson commented to Sam as they observed the ceremony. "It's in perception. The galaxy now sees humans differently." Indeed, Earth's reputation had transformed dramatically. The species once labeled as violent primitives was now known for something else entirely: justice rather than vengeance. Earth had had the opportunity to destroy the council ships and kill their crews. Instead, they had chosen precision, restraint, and accountability. "They expected us to behave like the savages they believed us to be," Ryan Phillips said. He had been promoted after Operation Thunderstrike and now served as Earth's first representative to the new Galactic Defense Coalition. "By choosing a better path, we proved them wrong in the most effective way possible." The treaty contained provisions that would reshape interstellar relations. All technological knowledge would be shared among member worlds. Resource extraction would require fair compensation and environmental protections. Developing worlds would receive genuine assistance without exploitation. Most importantly, Earth had become the champion for other worlds previously victimized by the Council. 17 planets were now receiving reparations and assistance. Their representatives looked to Earth with gratitude and respect. "You showed us that resistance was possible," said the ambassador from Neritis, a world that had suffered under Council exploitation for decades. "You gave us hope when we had none." Amy Nichols had been appointed to lead the Galactic Environmental Restoration Initiative. Under her guidance, teams were already working to heal the damage caused by Council mining operations on Earth and other affected worlds. "The scars will take time to heal," she explained to a group of interspecies ecologists. "But we've developed new restoration techniques by combining Earth science with knowledge from other worlds." Eric Barnes, now General Barnes, worked with military leaders from across the galaxy to develop new security protocols. "The lesson from Earth is clear," he told them. "True security comes from cooperation and mutual respect, not domination." As the ceremony concluded, Diane Foster gave the closing address. The successful diplomat had become Earth's first galactic ambassador. 1 year ago, the galaxy witnessed what the Council called Earth's vicious revenge, she said, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. "Today we can see it for what it truly was, a demand for justice, not just for ourselves, but for all species who suffered under exploitation." She gestured to the assembled representatives. "Our strength came not from weapons or technology, but from unity. When faced with extinction or subjugation, Earth's nations set aside ancient rivalries and stood as one people. That unity gave us the strength to demand better, not just for ourselves, but for all worlds." As the applause filled the chamber, Sam Ford reflected on the journey. From first contact to the brink of war to a new galactic order, all in just over 2 years. "What happens next?" a young diplomat asked him. Sam smiled. "Now comes the hard part. We build something better together." Outside the diplomatic center, council ships once feared by humanity now served peaceful purposes. Earth vessels prepared for their first official missions to distant stars. And across the galaxy, the story spread of how one supposedly primitive world had transformed interstellar society, not through vicious revenge, but through the most powerful force of all, the demand for justice.